is Gary Cottle, the CEO of Valereum PLC, following news that the company has entered into a legally binding heads of terms agreement to raise $200 million in royalty and streaming capital from Valereum QGP SP. Well, Gary, thank you very much for joining us today. How are things?
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, they're good. We're super happy, right? To raise, probably this is the largest deal I believe Aquis have ever done. We haven't funded, but we're relatively confident that it will fund. These people are absolutely fantastic partners for us. They're in our space. They're a massive player in our space, particularly with natural resources. So for them to come out of the woods with what we believe just the first stage of what will be a long-term strategic capital partner, and they're smart money. So and they're strategic money. So yeah, we're very, very happy with this deal. Well,
I'm sure you are. I mean, $200 million is nothing to be sniffed at. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about who QGP are, where do they come from?
They're a fund, so they're a Cayman registered fund that specialise. They do an awful lot in the space, or they have done in the last couple of years, around royalties and streaming, particularly in the natural resources. So people will have seen them certainly in the gold space, where they've done an awful lot of digital gold. They've expanded mainly in natural resources where they're most prevalent. It's a phenomenal deal for us, right? They approached us. That they're an excellent partner. They're incredibly synergistic. The roadmap that we had presented, they are 100% aligned to, even to the extent that with a bunch of stable coins that they've already got out there, we're entering into a digital asset treasury with them, and over the next year or two we'll be building that out with them. So they tick every single box we could have ever hoped to raise what we hope is the first stage. Now, clearly, we're offering them just under half of the company for $200 million, and we hope this is the first step of a very lengthy relationship with them, which will cover debt and equity.
And just on the $200 million, then, for just about half the company. So is that vanilla? Is it they put the money in and they'll get that percentage, or is it sort of drawn down in stages?
It was certainly not vanilla, because it's a tokenization. It's effectively an equity swap. So what they're doing is, in return for 49.9% of the company, so we're giving them the right to buy up to just under half of the company, and also bring in another strategic investor in return for them providing us an instrument that yields 5.25% to us. So that will roughly be $10.5 million a year that we'll get in revenue, and also to deploy their $200 million that they're bringing in via collateralized assets. So it's a great outcome. Not only do we get an annuity income, so these are perpetual call notes, tokenized perpetual call notes, as one would expect, being a tokenization company. So we get the revenue, which is the 10 point whatever it is million dollars a year, and that will help us run and grow the business with the roadmap that we presented to them. But we also get the access to leverage and utilize and deploy, firstly, the 200 million, and we're hopeful that there'll be a lot more behind this with them as a strategic capital partner, to be seen in the coming months.
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's an awful lot to unpack here. First of all, just on that 200 million for just under 50%, does that effectively value Valereum at 400 million? Is that fair enough?
Well, it's probably more than that, because we get a perpetual $10.5 million. So if anybody wanted to do the maths, right, it's bigger than that. Now, obviously, that's I think that's the magnitude of what the investment is.
Okay, I mean, this is incredible. Can you explain that $10.5 million? So that's 5.25% of revenue from what projects they're working on.
So they've got a pool of assets that they're going to fund. So the SPV that they're setting up is hopefully in the process of being set up. So the DD really is a very short form DD. They will it's called Valereum SGP. So it's a Valereum protected cell. It's got a bunch of assets in there, which will be mining and natural resource assets. They will be insured via Lloyd's of London policy to protect their principal. They will effectively then swap that with us. So they will contribute that into the company, and then we'll be able to make use of that. That will pay us a coupon for that investment. And then we will be looking to deploy those assets by doing deals with them over the coming, and also making a few strategic acquisitions. So yeah, it's a fabulous deal for us, and hopefully them as well. Right, they're trying to build out this space to acquire many billions, or however it gets to over the coming years, of what a royalty, that they're in the business of doing royalty and streaming trades in a tokenized format, and that's exactly what we do. So we're hopefully teaming up and going to be developing that together.
So why did they come to Valereum then? You say they're into the tokenization of mining and royalty streaming services. So what attracted them to Valereum? What are you offering them?
Well, obviously, number one, we're a tokenization specialist, so we're on the left-hand side around the origination, structuring, and arrangement. So we're not on the right-hand side, which does the distribution. I certainly don't think we're the only deal that they're going to do. My guess is this space which we all think is going to be, you could easily see $20-30 billion in the space over the coming years for typically those people trying to dig precious metals and natural resources out of the ground. They don't get funding from banks or pension funds anymore. It's all privately funded in a tokenized format via an NI 43101, which is like an assay report or a surveyor's report. So my guess is, and I think you'll see, and you've already seen people like Tether, and there's 4 or 5 other people that are out there expanding into this space. This is a fund that's focused for the last 2 years on this, and they're continuing to expand their footprint. I'm pretty sure you'll see more from them in the coming months.
Wow. Okay. I mean, this is actually probably one of the most exciting interviews that I've ever done in my time here at Stopbox. I mean, as you probably know, there's a lot of mining companies come on the platform, and I've just come from the Swiss Mining Institute in Zurich last week, and that was when I was introduced to this Tether thing that's been going on. They're buying gold, they're buying farmland, and they've got this US Tether gold, isn't it? So there's that element, and then there's of course the whole discussions that we had about the mining supercycle, which is only just getting started. And I mean, to have this conversation with you now, this firm coming in with that amount of capital, I mean, that just lights the fire even more for me, because that's just like, wow. I mean, look at all this capital that's ready to deploy and fund these projects.
Yep, and QGP, unlike Tether, who are relatively new to that, and obviously we're domiciled in the same place as Tether, and we do speak to Tether, and they're raising the 50 to 100 billion precisely to access this market in a more material. So they're also at the start of what is a super cycle. QGP, they're already a very big player in this space. I imagine, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of QGP, but I imagine they will also be accelerating their growth in what is, as you say, an incredibly exciting space. You're going to see, with the price of gold gone up, you're going to see an awful lot more people opening up gold mines again, and the plethora of precious metals around that all become more interesting to accelerate the development of those sites.
Incredible, amazing. This idea of sort of marrying the digital asset, the crypto asset side, with physical assets in the ground. And it's had its first iteration, if you like, back in the summer with the Bitcoin treasury companies and the mining companies getting involved. And I thought that's a really great idea. What a great theory to bring those two elements together, digital and physical, and get some of that capital that's in the crypto space, in the digital currencies, and put it with the physical. And I mean, this is just yet another awesome example of that. I mean, you must be over the moon, surely.
We're all over the moon. It's a phenomenal deal for the company. QGP have also been in the gold business. I think they have a couple of $1 billion in digital gold, backed by physical gold. So they've been a player for the last 2 or 3 years. I think they bought some assets of Corium and some other. So they're very much in the space. It's a fabulous deal for the company, and our job with the announcement of the US listing is to work with them to accelerate that now. And the whole life cycle can be tokenized, all the way from capex in the machinery, all the way to paying the people who digging it out, the distribution, the sales. It's all paid in crypto. It's all tokenized, and then everything is that people don't pay in dollars anymore. It's the entire infrastructure is in crypto payments.
Yeah, amazing. This is really incredible. I mean, what happens now then? How do you carry on with this? You've got a lot of things to work on. I think you've got to develop your digital asset treasury program. You talk about your potential partnerships, and of course the US listing, which is going to be a really big event. So what happens now over the next sort of few weeks?
Yeah, So we've got to close the deal. We're hopefully they're in the process of setting up the segregated portfolio as we speak.
Okay.
So I think that's the most important thing, is to get that across the line. They will then fund that segregated portfolio. We will then effectively start. So whether we've given them 1 year to exercise their option to buy half the company, we have highlighted several companies that we'd like to take stakes in. All synergistic. They're all high growth. They're similar to the DigiShares and the Bluebird and the Fidium that we've already done. So we would like to expand that ecosystem. We have various controls and agreements to put in place with. So 2 people from QGP will join the board. We will agree what we're going to do in the digital asset treasury with them. They already have Q Gold, Q BTC, Q USDT. So they have their own stable of stable coins. So we'll be looking to agree a policy framework for the digital asset treasury. We will ramp up origination. So obviously we'd like to speak to some of the people that you've been in Zurich with. But we think all the miners will naturally want to be speaking to people who can provide what is really a financing vehicle for them, and for us and QGP to deploy capital. And some of it's debt and some of it will be equity. So we, in a very organized and non-chaotic manner, will now basically try and execute the roadmap. And that will be continue to laterally grow clients by white label as a service businesses, and then basically product depth by adding products in, and with a really, really big focus. And I think it's probably really important to say that they've much further developed in the AI space than most people. So they've got an awful lot, and this will all become clear in the next couple of weeks, of their AI people behind them. They've been leveraging AI in the space for a couple of years, and they've the pedigree of the people that they've got, stem all the way to the very heart. So although we've been looking at AI businesses, we've actually agreed a partnership with a university spin-out very recently. We're looking at some crypto funds with AI algorithms and a market sentiment. The QGP guys are much, much further along, so we'll be looking to leverage their expertise, what they've done for AI also in the coming months.
Excellent. Well, like I said, there's an awful lot to go up there, a lot to unpack, and I'm sure we'll be speaking a lot more in the coming weeks. But I guess there's lots more to come, Gary. Just watch this space.
Let's watch this space. We would like to get this deal closed as quick as we can, and then we are going to go and deliver what we said we're going to deliver.
Excellent. Super. Well, Gary Cottle, thank you very much for your time, CEO of Valereum PLC.
Yep, no pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.